And yes, it is another edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio, where we talk rock because that's how we roll. My name is Bob Bannister, and joining me this time around from Old Hickory, Tennessee, is the one, the only Jasmine Cain. How you doing, Jasmine?
Hello. I'm doing great. It's a very hot and humid day here in Nashville, Tennessee. Um, I got woken up very early this morning from one of the motorcycles in my basement draining fuel all over the basement and putting me in quite the haze. So I I was a little high when I woke up this morning.
Oh no.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty brutal. I think we got it mostly cleared out now, but oh my gosh, it's not even the first time this has happened. You'd think we would learn, but no. No.
oh man, yeah, that's and I know from playing with lawnmowers and snow blowers and stuff like that, that a little bit of gas fumes goes a long way.
Ooh, it does, especially when it's right in your house. It's
Yeah.
we store all of our guitars in our basement, which is open to our house. And so I woke up this morning, I felt like I was drinking gasoline. I'm like, what is going on with and I went downstairs and one of the bikes had just decided to let loose. So it was just all over the ground. So it took us a
Oh,
while.
fun, fun, fun.
Oh yeah, good times.
But I got to say, I'm absolutely digging the new album. Attitude is everything. The latest single, Evil Disco. That is
Yeah.
so much fun too.
It's a blast. It was so much fun to do that music video because it's our guitar player's first time in a strip club. He'd never been to one before, so he didn't know what to expect. And one of the girls that was in the video, one of the main characters, works there at the club,
Right.
and she was, she was like putting on a show for us, and he was just like, "This is awesome." So he's like, "Why don't we film all of our music videos like this?" I'm like, "We should actually. It'd be super fun."
Right on. And I do this little thing where when I'm previewing music for the radio station for my radio show, a big test for me is, can I get through cutting my lawn listening to this album? I call it my
Interesting.
I call it my lawn cutting playlist. I put yours on there a couple weeks ago and just absolutely kept hitting repeat the
No
entire
way.
time.
That's a good sign, man. That's a good sign.
Absolutely. Especially on two songs in particular. The title track,
Okay.
Attitude is Everything. I love
Right.
that song.
Yes. That's
And
Kevin's favorite too.
Stupid Pop Song. It took me 3 days to get that out of my head.
What's so funny is like that song was we were in the middle of writing and we've kind of ran out of ideas, because you've got like five or six really good ideas when you come out of the gate to write. And then from that point on, you're just trying to tap into that same vein and like find some inspiration in something. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know, like to me, writing pop songs was easy. I'm like, it's so easy. It's just another stupid pop song. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, and I grabbed my guitar and I started playing this Avril Lavigne kind of feel like I had
Right,
this like kind
right.
of pop punk thing going on, and I was like, I'm spending all my time trying to find like songs that are going to change the world. So I was like, that's how I'm going to start. Like, spend all my time trying to find a perfect rhyme and a message that could save the world, and they're like, okay, and I was like, just continued on, and I wrote this whole verse and the whole chorus without even really stopping. Like I just kind of went for it, and they're like, well, now you've really screwed us up because that's going to be the song that everybody wants to hear.
And
Now,
I absolutely love the ending, how you're working in all those pop songs.
the
And then
earworms.
exactly, exactly. And then it gets to the Fine Young Cannibals sample at the end. And I just kind of went, what?
She drives me crazy.
I remember because I have a very vivid memory of where I was when that song came out. I was
Everyone has that's the thing with all these songs. They're so nostalgic.
mhm. I was in
Yeah.
college. I was in college taking radio broadcasting, and that song came out, and our version of MTV up here, Much Music,
Uh-huh.
kept playing it on repeat and repeat and repeat. And I kept hearing everybody talking about Fine Young Cannibals, Fine Young
Yeah.
Cannibals. And I finally turned it on one night, and there it was. It's like, okay, now I get what it's all about.
It's so funny because like he had such a unique voice. So as soon as you heard his voice, you're like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny because like that's what we picked. We're like, okay, what are the songs that get stuck in your head all the time? And that's what we started looping in there at the end. And our producer was like, aren't you worried about us getting sued for sampling this? I'm like, bring it on, sue us, dude. It'd be probably the greatest thing that ever happened to us.
Last
I
thing
don't
I
know.
checked, you could use up to 7 seconds.
Oh, well, I'm good then. I'm golden.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with this album, Attitude is Everything, how is that musically different than your last LP, Seven, which came out in 2019?
So this is a lot more pop based. Because even though Seven was still pretty, mainstream, it was a lot edgier musically than this one is. This one we used a lot of you know, programs and sampling and stuff like that. We just it was a totally different feel. And I was starting to pull from artists like Rihanna, like HBIC to me was basically pulled like from Rihanna's kind of energy and attitude. And Stupid Pop Song was definitely an Ever Lavigne kind of feel to it. And everything that I wrote, we'd start the whole session out by going, okay, who's the artist of the day? And it'd be like, today we're gonna be Lady Gaga, and we're gonna write something that's very pop based, so like Dance with Me, like a very, dance song, something like that. And I was like, it needs, we would just choose something every single day. Imagine Dragons, whatever it was, we would just start doing these songs. And Victory was kind of like our Imagine Dragons feel.
Right.
And everything that we did was based on an artist, and we're just like, let's just take like the vibe of that artist and let's just go with that today. And it worked really well for us, but it was all based on pop artists and pop songs. We did a lot of sampling. There was a lot of there's a lot of synth bass and stuff, because I'm the bass player also. So
Right.
I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we didn't put bass on a lot of this and we just use synth bass? Because that would give me an excuse to put the bass down and actually front for a few songs. Like that way I could walk away from the microphone and actually be more engaging with the audience live. Because as it stands right now, both hands are busy and I can't leave that microphone. So it's got me a little bit stagnant. But I thought this would be a good idea, like a good reason for me to step away from the microphone and kind of be more engaging with the audience live. So it's kind of some different ideas.
Change is always a good thing.
Always a good
Absolutely.
thing. I know. So good.
So, you're a newer artist to us here at CGCM Rock Radio, but a lot of our listeners are deep divers in the world of rock and everything. So give us the backstory of Jasmine Cain for our listeners that might not be as informed.
Okay. Well, my story is pretty interesting and took a violent left turn. I grew up on a cattle ranch in rural South Dakota. So I was a rodeo girl. I broke horses. I was a country music singer. I thought I was going to move to Nashville and be like the next Gretchen Wilson. And I came to Nashville, and of course, everyone wanted to be the next Gretchen Wilson. And if I was going to stand out from anything, I was going to have to do something pretty unique. And one of the things that I realized, being born in Sturgis, South Dakota, which is where I'm born and raised, it's the home of the world's largest motorcycle rally. So I had done music at these motorcycle events for many, many years, long before I was of age, actually, because you don't have to be 21 to sing in a bar. You just have to
Right.
be 21 to handle alcohol. So I was performing in these bars since I was 6 years old and doing motorcycle events since I was a teenager. And so I knew these people well, and I knew all of the vendors and the different locations that they had the rallies well. And I thought, what better way to get outside my comfort zone than to jump on with the motorcycle circuit I already know and love, and become a rock band, and we started out very blues rock, because that's kind of what was popular at the time. And that's what I basically created my rock sound from initially, was blues rock based. And so I started doing that and realized quickly that everyone was doing the same songs in the same style and the same way. And although that was familiar to all the people that attend the rallies, it was also very boring for everybody to be there all day and listen to the same songs from the same thing over and
Mm.
over again. So I said, you know what? I want to shake this up a little bit. I want to come in here and start doing something a little bit heavier that they might not expect. And I'm not going to do it with female songs. I'm going to do it with Chris Cornell songs. I'm going to do it with, Aerosmith songs and AC/DC songs and stuff like that. Rob Zombie was a big one for me. I liked a lot of new metal,
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn Manson, stuff like that. So something that was a little more vibey. And I was like, let's like take these people on a journey. Let's give them something a little bit more exciting and kind of shake it up. And it worked, and it worked so well that other bands started copying my set lists and starting doing the same thing. So I was like, okay, now I have to take this to another level, a different way. So I went a little bit more metal. I learned how to do scream technique, and I was starting to do, singing and the screaming. And it worked really well because now you're just kind of slowly getting those time slots. You start out like the afternoon blues band, and then you're like the early afternoon or the early evening, rock band, kind of straightforward on the floor rock band. And now you've moved up to like that nighttime opening band for the Nationals with your metal and higher energy. And now everybody's doing the same thing there too. So I'm like, this is the time where I need to really start incorporating original music, because by this time I had spent so many years in the motorcycle industry that many people had bought our CDs through this timeline of releasing, and they knew the songs. And I'm like, why are we not playing our own songs? Why are we not pushing that? So we started incorporating our original music into it, and that has kind of guaranteed us a lot of headlining positions. It's something that no one else can really do except for us because it's ours, and no one can really steal that from you. And so it's kind of cool to just like own it now, and that's where we've come to.
Absolutely. And by the sounds of it, you got the bug at a very, very early age.
I did. I was 4 years old. I'm already playing guitar. My dad had taught me like the only chords he knew, which I call 2.5 chords, because he couldn't really play one of them right, but he taught me a cheater version of how to do it.
Right.
And my mom took me into town one day, which was, a treat in itself because we never left the cattle ranch. But she let me go to a music store, and I bought a chord chart for $1.95. This is pre-internet, by the way. Okay, if
Mm.
you need to know how old I am. So uh, I couldn't just look it up online with the chord chart. So I went and bought a physical chord chart for $1.95. I still have it, by the way,
That's
and
cool.
taught myself how to play guitar. And when I was 4 years old, I remember having this very vivid dream, and it was a very odd dream. It was me but I was an adult in my dream, but I was
Mhm.
just a kid having this dream, and I was an
Right.
adult on the dream. And I was standing on a stage, and it was just real close, like and it started panning out, and I was seeing this full band, and then it pans out more, and I see like all these people, like this big crowd on these big stages, and it just keeps panning out, and then I realized like it's me. I'm the one panning out. I'm leaving. Like goodbye. Like so, it was like it was, it was one of those things where it was like almost if you don't do this now, it's gonna pass you by and you're never gonna experience that. And that's the way I took it anyway. So I was like, I need to start this now. I wouldn't have had this dream and it was recurring. It just kept happening. So I was like, I wouldn't keep having this dream if there wasn't a reason I was supposed to have this dream and do something about it. So I started practicing a lot, playing a lot. I was obsessed with any instrument I could get my hands on. My parents would just call neighbors and be like, "Hey, do you have some random instrument in your house that you could lend us for the winter?" And I'd be over there with my gifted, fiddle, and my, lender bass guitar, and my lender accordion, or whatever they gave me. It was random, but
Right.
I was like, oh, this winter, while it's snowing in South Dakota and we're freezing to death, I'm going to teach myself how to play banjo or whatever it was, So I just started playing that, trying all kinds of different instruments, and it just never left. And I know that my parents were so disappointed that it never left. At about 12 years old, they're like, hey, you started thinking about other things you want to do when you grow up. I'm like, I mean, I'd love to be a veterinarian. And my dad's like, no way. That's 8 years of school and a lot of money. And I was like, well, rock and roll it is then, I guess.
And it's funny when I mean, I remember growing up and wanting to be Bob Barker, for crying out loud.
Really? He
Yes,
was awesome, though.
he was.
Bob Barker was the coolest.
I mean, I remember growing up watching the Price is Right, and
Yeah.
going, that's going to be me. Of course,
You
well,
know that
I went to radio, not TV, but
at the end of every single one of our shows, when we are done with our show, the track that plays is the end of The Price is Right from Bob Barker,
oh no
telling
way.
people to get their pets
Pet
spayed and
spayed or
neutered.
neutered.
That's our ending every night.
That is very, very cool. What else can fans expect to see from a Jasmine Cain live show?
The band is really entertaining and really energetic. They're honestly having the most. Who has the most fun at a Jasmine Cain show? Jasmine Cain. Like we are having the most fun always, and I think that just translates to the audience because if the band's having a blast, then they're having a blast. But they're really, really, really talented guys. I've always said that I wanted to be the weakest link in my band. I want to be the one that can't play the things as well, because they're going to do nothing but pull me up with them and make me better for it. So I love the fact that I've got some really, really solid guys. They learn stuff quickly. We wrote a lot of these songs together this trip, and that's kind of new for me because the band usually didn't want to participate in the writing
Right.
process. So they were involved in some of that this time, which I appreciated and enjoyed because they could bring different ideas to things that I wouldn't normally think about. And I love the fact that they're all personal. Like they'll come out and talk to the audience. We stand out at our merch booth for however long it takes the last person to get through there, and they stand right there with me, and they'll sign anything and talk to people and take pictures. It's like just like I do, and it kind of makes fans for life that way because you get that like connection with the person. You get to actually talk to them, meet them, take the pictures with them, and hang out with them, and it's a real it's that makes a friend for life. So I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, do you have a guilty pleasures album? Now, what I'm talking about is an album that someone who's going through your collection might go, "Hey, Jasmine, what's this?" I mean, for example, with me, it's Linda Ronstadt's "Simple Dreams." I got to say
Ooh,
that's a great album, and I actually do prefer her version of "Tumblin' Dice" to the Stones' original.
really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. It's funny because we used to talk about this stuff all the time in the band, like what our guilty pleasure song was. But as far as an album, boy, I let's see. I mean, I'm gonna go back to like probably the 80s in this because I grew up in that on that music. So some of those albums are stuff that I loved. Like I really loved Taylor Dane's voice.
Oh yeah.
So like, her stuff was really great. And then like probably that first Mariah Carey album. I know that's weird, but like Mariah Carey came out of the gate like blowing everybody's minds, and I was just like obsessed with how she hit all those whistle tone notes. Like that
Yes.
was just like I was obsessing over that. And that was like right going into high school for me when that album came out, the first one. And holy cow, yeah, she just that was probably the one that really made me just go like I I love this, but I can't tell my country parents about this, and I can't tell my rock and roll friends in school about this. So I'm just gonna quietly bang some like some Mariah Carey in the shower when nobody is around. So yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. That reminds me of when I was in college when that album came out, and a buddy of mine said, "You know what? This is a great album, but it really should have an ASPCA warning on it. Harmful to dogs and animals."
I like I had no idea because we didn't have music classes or training, vocal training of any kind growing up, and so when I heard her do those notes, I'm like, there's no way. How are they doing that? And so I
Mhm.
started like trying it, just seeing what I could do. I'm sure I was painfully obnoxious to everyone around me because I was just walking around going, like, and now I can kind of control it. But like back then, it was just like a horrible screeching noise that no one wanted to hear. And I was just like, if I could ever master this would be fantastic. But and eventually I wouldn't say I can master it, but at least I can do it now.
That's
But that
that's cool. Now, before we wrap this up, I like to do a little thing called this or that. It's just a series of quick multiple choice questions,
ooh,
and you just give me your choice out of both of these.
let's
All right,
go.
we're going to start off easy. Coffee or tea?
Coffee all day long.
Hot wings or spicy chili?
Ooh, I'm going with chili.
Roller coasters or dirt bikes?
Dirt bikes.
Video games or board games?
Board games. I'm old school.
Right on. Watching movies at home or going to the theater?
Mm, this depends. It depends. Because movie theaters have gotten pretty cool in some of the things that they can do now. So I'm going to say movie theater, especially if it's interactive, like that last Batman movie where the chairs tilt as he's
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Crazy. You can't get that at home.
No, you can't. Now, when you're watching that movie, popcorn or nachos?
Popcorn.
All right. And then the big dividing one, then we're pretty much 50-50 split on this one.
Okay.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Let's go. I love it.
Right on. And Jasmine Cain, why don't you give us your website?
Everything can be seen at jasminecain.com. It's JASMINE. And the last name is CAIN, like Cain and Abel, because the good girl had to die.
And you're all over social media as well, of
I
course.
am. I'm very Googleable, if that's a word. Yes, we have our website, which shows you all of our socials. We also have a Patreon page, which is pretty cool because it's behind the scenes stuff. We're getting
Hmm.
ready to do our next music video in December for our song Victory. And if you guys are fans of the movie Slapshot, if you're hockey
Oh,
fans,
yeah.
I think you're gonna really dig this one. So yeah, we're excited to be doing that in December, and I can't wait to bring that. And we'll be showing everybody behind the scenes stuff on there all day long during that, just like we did on Evil Disco. It's all on Patreon. That's such a great site to check out. And of course, I always encourage everybody to join our street team, which you can just type into your browser go.jasminecain.com, and it'll take you to our street team and run you through some a survey so we can learn more about you, and then we'll be on our mailing list.
Right
Yes.
on. Well, thank you, Jasmine Cain, for joining us on this edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you very much.
And thank you. And we'll catch you again next time right here on Rock Talk on CGCM Rock Radio.
Awesome.